Hi, scholars. Welcome to today's reading lesson. In today's lesson, you will be listening to the last lesson in early Asian civilizations. Today's focus will be on the religion Buddhism. Today's objectives, you will know that religion is a key component of a civilization. You will understand and describe important aspects of Buddhism, and you will be able to identify certain facts pertaining to Buddhism. So let's review what you have already learned in previous lesson for early Asian civilizations. One of the other religions that you heard about was Hinduism. Going over the characteristics of Hinduism, you learned that in Hinduism there are many gods. The name of the followers are called Hindus. The name of the holy text is called the Rig Veda, and the holy place is the Ganges River. Some of the important figures in Hinduism is Shiva, Brahman, and Vishnu. For today's lesson, you will be comparing and learning about the important facts on the religion of Buddhism. Let's go over today's vocabulary. We are focusing on Buddhism, and it is a world religion that honors Buddha and his teachings. For example, Buddhism began in India many years ago, but it is practiced by people all over the world. The next word is conquer, to overcome something by mental or physical force. For example, to conquer his fears of heights, Alejandro walked to the top of the Washington Monument. Next word is suffering. Suffering means misery of or pain. For example, natural disaster caused suffering for the people affected. And the last word was venture. Is to do something despite a possible danger or risk. For example, despite great dangers, firefighters often venture into burning buildings to help others. In the read aloud, your purpose for listening will be to listen carefully to learn the important facts about Buddhism. Remember that we will be completing the table, so you need to learn those characteristics about Buddhism. Sit back and enjoy today's read aloud.
Look at this photograph. Do you have any ideas about what it could be? This is the great stupa of Sanchi, one of many sacred or holy dome-shaped shrines built all over Asia to honor the Buddha, the founder of Buddhism. Today, you will learn a little bit about Buddhism, the world's fourth largest religion, and the Buddhists who practice this religion. It all began about 2,500 years ago with the birth of Siddhartha Gautama in the foothills of the Himalayan mountains. Siddhartha was a prince born to very rich parents. Siddhartha's parents loved him very much. So much, in fact, that they wanted to protect him from all the suffering or misery and pain in the world. By doing so, they thought he would always be happy. So, Siddhartha was kept behind the walls of the palace and was given anything he wanted: fine food, wonderful toys, and plenty of servants. Siddhartha knew very little about life outside the palace walls. Then, as Siddhartha grew into a young man, he began to venture out beyond the walls of the palace. Despite possible danger, Siddhartha began to explore beyond the palace walls. Driven by a servant in a horse-drawn chariot, Siddhartha was shocked and dismayed to see what his parents had kept hidden from him. On one trip, he saw a poor old woman bent over and barely able to stand. On another, he saw a sick and hungry man lying by the side of the road, crying out for help. On a third trip, Siddhartha saw two people weeping. All around him, people were suffering. Siddhartha began to worry about all of these people outside the palace walls. What, he wondered, could he do to help them? Seeing all of this suffering, Siddhartha could no longer be happy with his comfortable life. And so, he made the decision to leave his riches behind. One night, he crept out of the palace, moved beyond its walls, and headed out along India's dusty roads in search of answers to his questions. For many years, Siddhartha wandered the land, studying with spiritual teachers along the way. He was forever asking his teachers how to conquer or overcome suffering and achieve happiness on earth. None of their answers seemed to satisfy him. One night, stopping to rest beneath a fig tree, Siddhartha crossed his legs and vowed that he would not move until he had the answers to his questions. Siddhartha sat under the fig tree for 7 weeks, meditating on his questions. When he finally had the answers he was searching for, he felt like an entirely different person. During those 7 weeks, he believed he had received enlightenment. In Buddhism, when someone receives enlightenment, it means the person gains a greater understanding of life, no longer desires or wants worldly goods, and is then believed to be free from suffering. Siddhartha now thought he had a new and deeper understanding about life, why people suffer, and how to end suffering on earth. Siddhartha became known as the Buddha, meaning one who was awake or enlightened one. What do you suppose Siddhartha the Buddha learned during those 7 weeks? The Buddha learned several lessons, and his lessons became known as the Four Noble Truths. These four truths are: all people experience suffering and unhappiness. Suffering and unhappiness comes from greed or desiring or wanting too many worldly things. Suffering and unhappiness end when unrealistic desires end. If something is unrealistic, that means it is very difficult or impossible to achieve. People can end suffering and unhappiness by following a few basic rules. The Buddha's rules may sound familiar to you. They include rules like: be kind to others, do not tell lies or cheat or steal, do not be selfish, do not harm people or animals, train your mind to think clearly. The word train, as used in this sentence, means to practice skills. The Buddha lived a long life, traveling through India, teaching others about the Four Noble Truths and his rules for life. He had many followers in his lifetime, and Buddhism spread to many lands after his death. One person who is credited with helping the spread of Buddhism is a powerful ruler named Asoka. Asoka was not always an enlightened person. Rather, he was a warrior king who led many soldiers into battle, wounding and killing thousands of people as he expanded his great empire. But one particularly violent battle changed Asoka's life. As he rode across the battlefield, seeing how his desires to rule a great empire hurt others, he became horrified by what he had done. Asoka decided that day to change his life and study the teachings of the Buddha. From then on, instead of sending men into battle, he became nonviolent and sent trained teachers throughout Asia to spread the teachings of Buddhism. Often traveling in great caravans, Asoka's trained teachers did more, much more than preach and teach. In India and far beyond, they carried food and medicine to help people in need. Asoka also ordered his teachers to build hospitals for people and animals, dig wells and irrigation ditches, plant shade trees by the road to comfort weary travelers, and to build roads to ease traveling from place to place. Asoka made sure that the Buddha's messages of peace and kindness were carved on big rocks and stone monuments all over India. Although he allowed his people to practice Hinduism and other religions, he wanted everyone to be enlightened by the teachings of the Buddha. Stupas, like the one you saw at the beginning of this read aloud, already existed. But Asoka built many more stupas to hold relics, or important historical objects, of the Buddha. Today, Buddhists travel from all over the world to worship at these sacred shrines.
Now we're going to move into our word for today. For today's word, the word is conquer. In the text, it said Siddhartha was forever asking his teachers how to conquer suffering and achieve happiness on earth. Say the word with me conquer. Good. The meaning is to overcome something by mental or physical force. Here's an example in a sentence. Jimmy was able to conquer his fear of dogs after his mother took him with her to volunteer at the shelter. He saw that all of the dogs there were gentle and sweet. Now you try it. Do you have any fears that you would like to conquer? Try to use the word conquer when you tell about it. I would like to conquer my fear of. You try it. Good job, boys and girls. For the next session in today's lesson, we are going to look into two parts of writing. We will review the information you have gathered about early Indian civilization, and you will learn a multiple meaning of the word train. In previous lessons, boys and girls, you have learned that a civilization is composed of cities, jobs, leaders, writing, and religion. You have gathered all this information about early Indian civilization. In today's lesson, you learned about another religion called Buddhism. The previous religion that you've learned about early Indian civilization was Hinduism. And in today's read aloud, you also learn about a leader named Asoka. Now let's move into the multiple meaning word train. You have heard in the read aloud, train your mind to think clearly. The word train in the sentence means to practice skills. Tell me which picture shows the correct definition of the word train as I have used it in the sentence. To train your mind to think clearly. If you think it's the image one, say one. If you think it's two, say two. If you said it's one, you are correct. The little girl is training her mind or her goals to have a clear goal. Train also has other meanings. The word train can mean a group of vehicles that travel on tracks and are connected to one another. Image 2 shows the definition of a train that has vehicles that are connected to one another and they travel on a track. It is a noun. And to practice a skill, it's a verb. Train. Here you see the girl training. She's doing something. It's a verb. And on 2, you see a noun. It's an object that is a train. So you have learned that train is a multiple meaning word. It can be to practice a skill or it can be an object. For the last part of this lesson, we will finish composing this chart in comparing Hinduism to Buddhism. This will help you on your independent activity that you will discuss what is it that you learn about Buddhism. How many, what is the number of gods in the religion of Buddhism? There are none. What is the name of the followers? Buddhist. What is the name of the holy text? The teaching of the Buddha, for example, the Four Noble Truths. The holy place is the stupa, the great stupa of Sanchi. And the important figures in Buddhism is Siddhartha, what? It's Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. So, boys and girls, today these are the facts that you have learned about Buddhism.